आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate. Arnab Goswami on the debate.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome, and time now for the nation's sharpest opinion. And Donald Trump is just obsessed with India. He's obsessed. Twice a day he makes a comment on India. He's looking terrible when he does that. He's looking obsessed, he's looking depressed, and he's looking desperate. Ladies and gentlemen, this man has misplaced priorities. Instead of obsessing about India, he should be thinking about the looming debt crisis that he's going to turn his country to at 37 trillion US dollars. And he's going to take it to 43 or 45, believe me, very, very soon. Debt through the roof, the economy is tanking. Unable to handle the situation, he and Mr. Medvedev of Russia are having nuclear, bombast on both sides. He thinks it's a game of chess. Medvedev says Trump should remember the walking dead. And Trump says, I'm going to be moving nuclear submarines into appropriate regions, trying to make it sound extremely threatening. But this is a childish game. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not interested about what's going on between Dmitry Medvedev and Donald Trump. Keep in mind, Putin doesn't even engage with Trump. He makes Medvedev engage with Trump. The reality is that Trump, who was once in love with Putin, can no longer handle Russia. He had said that he is going to end Russian aggression within 10 to 12 days. It's an absolute disaster, ladies and gentlemen. Through July, by the way, Russia has launched a record 6,443 drones and missiles into Ukraine. It's non-stop, these attacks. So Trump, being unable to handle the situation, unable to handle Ukraine, unable to handle the situation in the Middle East, unable to handle Russia, he is incessantly and obsessively thinking about India. He's issued 4 threats to India in the last few days. July 30th, India will have to pay 25% tariff and penalty. July 31st, India and Russia have dead economies. August 4th, we will raise tariffs on India for selling Russian oil. August 5th, when we pretty much don't care and tell him, go to hell, we're not listening to you, he says, I will raise tariffs in the next 24 hours. You know what, Donald Trump, you're welcome. You're welcome. You should have seen the Indian Foreign Ministry's response. And I can personally say, as a proud Indian, that we are really super proud of the chilled out and cool way in which the Narendra Modi government is handling it. We've told, we should be proud of our Prime Minister. He's being so calm through this. He said, listen, we've been importing from Russia because traditional supplies are diverted to Europe. So secondly, he says this is energy security, not opportunism. He makes it clear, don't try and single us out. He points out, when I say he points out, means the Ministry of External Affairs points out that Europe and Russia have strong trade. The EU buys a range of goods from Russia, including fertilizers, chemicals, transport equipment. But most importantly, he calls out Donald Trump's hypocrisy. He says, you continue to import uranium hexafluoride, palladium, fertilizers and chemicals from Russia. And then goes on to say, doesn't matter how many times you threaten us, we're going to work in our supreme national interest. Ladies and gentlemen, we should be so proud of what that statement was of the Indian Ministry of External Affairs. But I'm not saying this only because of the MES statement. I'm saying this because if you should have heard what Narendra Modi said about Swadeshi in a recent rally just a few days back. Listen to this.
चीज भारत के लोगों द्वारा बनी है, भारत के लोगों के कौशल्य से बनी है, भारत के लोगों के पसीने से बनी है, हमारे लिए बहुत स्वदेशी है। हमें वोकल फॉर लोकल मंत्र को अपनाना होगा। हम संकल्प लें कि हम मेक इन इंडिया प्रोडक्ट्स को ही बढ़ावा देंगे। हमारे घर में जो भी नया सामान आएगा वो स्वदेशी ही होगा।
And for anyone watching this, whether you're watching this in the United States of America or in India or anywhere in the world, the government of India has been preparing for this kind of a situation. We don't want a trade war with America or any country. But our government for the last 11 years has been strengthening ourselves and preparing for a situation. This is what we are saying today. The confidence with which we are dealing with Trump's threats and not getting affected by it is because our government has been focused on Make in India and much, much more for the last 11 years. Like BrahMos, the missile was not built in a day. I can give you many, many examples. We have been building on this. We know that our global economic competitors will try to attack us, but we have made ourselves strong. In 24-25, 3 examples, defense exports reached 15,000 plus crores from the private sector, 8,000 plus crores from DPSUs. That's Make in India. This year's budget saw 19,500 crore allocation for PLI, Production Linked Incentive Scheme. 33,500 crores have been pumped into strategic sectors, electronics, EV, semiconductor, telecom, and pharma. That's billions and billions and billions and tens of billions and hundreds of billions of US dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, what Donald Trump does not know is that India is a very powerful country and a very proud country. We are telling America, truly, we are a much bigger economy than Russia. We're a much bigger economy today than the United Kingdom. The fact is that the Americans have no leverage on us. Donald Trump can shout as much as he wants, threaten as much as he wants, but he does not have leverage on India. We're a rising economy, and that itself is a huge irritant for Trump. What is making a person like Trump angry and upset? The reality is because we are among the top 3 powers. Ladies and gentlemen, Goldman Sachs estimation. Of course, we'll be still much smaller by 2030, but we will be top 3. The gap between us and number 4 will be considerable. Now project that, ladies and gentlemen, to 2050. You see the gap reducing. India will be a $22.2 trillion economy. And this is not in purchasing power parity terms, will be much bigger than China. And will be much bigger than the United States of America for sure. Will be top 2 economy by 2050. And by 2075, if you were to project that to 2075, ladies and gentlemen, the situation is going to completely and drastically change, where we will be a larger economy than the United States of America. So we are a top 3 power. We are going to be a top 3 power starting 2030. Maybe 2027, 28 to 2030. And then by 2075, we will be top 2. Why is Trump hurting? Trump is hurting because he is losing. That is the only inference we can draw. Trump is hurting because he knows he's not been able to shake India. And Trump is hurting because he's frustrated at many global levels. And his attempt to use India as a pivot to fight his losing battle with Putin is not going to work. So, ladies and gentlemen, Trump's got it terribly wrong. We're going to win this. Please circulate this everywhere you can, especially in the USA, so people there see sense and can put some pressure on their own president.
As you know, Prime Minister Modi is a friend of mine, but they don't do very much business.
And they are going to pay 25%.
Yeah.
That's a good step. We'll see what happens, okay?
less than 48 hours remain to Trump's August 7th tariff deadline.
Well, I understand India no longer is going to be buying oil from Russia. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's a good step. We'll see what happens, okay?
Trump is upping the ante on India purchasing oil from Russia, now even threatening to raise the tariff over the existing 25% and the 10% penalty.
Our ties with any country, or all the ties that we have with various countries, they stand on their own merit, and they should not be seen from the prism of a third country.
India now has had enough, and the gloves are off. The niceties have been dropped from a pragmatic reality check. In a stern reply to both the EU and the US over their virtue signaling, India held the mirror for the two to bask in their own hypocrisy. From the nearly 300% jump in EU-Russia bilateral trade in the last 2 years, totaling to 67.5 billion euros, to its climbing imports from Russia, reaching a record high of 16.5 million tons, India's reply was unsparing, even reminding the Americans of their own words.
Actually, they bought Russian oil because we wanted somebody to buy Russian oil at a price cap. That was not a violation or anything. It was actually the design of the policy, because as a commodity, we didn't want oil prices going up, and they fulfilled that.
Not just on Russian oil. The Indian Army's Eastern Command today too set the record straight on India's strategic imports from Russia. The Eastern Command posted a news cutting dated August 5th, 1971. The headline read, US arms worth $2 billion shipped to Pakistan since '54. The Eastern Command captioned the post, "This day, that year," with a clear message. #known facts. The message from New Delhi is as clear as it gets. There will be no compromise on national interest. And if Washington would like to forget history, like a good ally, India will oblige with a timely reminder.
For an India view, we have very respected Mohandas Pai, Chairman of Aryan Capital, live from Bengaluru. For a China view, we have Victor Gao, Vice President of the Center for China and Globalization, live from Singapore. For a Russia view, we have Tatiana Kukareva, Senior Journalist, live from Moscow. We have Trump's pro-Trump voices, Richie Greenberg, political commentator, former Republican mayoral candidate, supports Donald Trump. Pastor Mark Burns, of course, walked out of my show last time, unfortunately, spiritual advisor to President Trump. And St. Alexander Shajan is GOP grassroots strategist, hardcore Republican from Atlanta. I thank you all, gentlemen. Now, I want to start with you, Mohandas Pai, here. How do you see this playing out now? What does Trump want? What can he get? He's issued one more threat today. He says, tomorrow I'm going to raise tariffs. What is he saying?
I think, Arnab, President Trump is doing what he likes doing best, negotiating, creating hardline positions, threatening nations, putting the pressure on them to come down to what he wants. And he's had his way with Japan, he's had his way with EU. India has been negotiating with the US for a long period of time. We are one of the few first countries to negotiate. And now he has a model whereby he has told the major economies, for the privilege of exporting to the United States, you have to pay the US 15%. Then you have to open up your market to zero tariff for American companies to get into your markets with a small list possibly of exclusions which you can negotiate with President Trump. And that is his position. And he's not going to budge from that for anybody. And he's prepared to take his chances. And when you do not come down to what President Trump wants, he's going to threaten you, he's going to negotiate with you, he's going to pile pressure on you. And India has just now said that the negotiations are continuing. Now we're getting threatened with penalty and higher tariffs for importing oil from Russia. The import of oil from Russia is just the existing policy that the West had, the OECD, that the Europeans had, to make sure that the world supply was in balance. because tomorrow India stops Russian oil, then the world price will go up because whatever large part of the Russian oil that we import is exported to Europe. India is a large exporter. For example, 2 years ago, we imported 200 billion and exported $80 billion. We have huge surplus capacity for refining, and most of it goes to Europe. If you look at the exports to Netherlands, it happens to be the gateway to Europe, we see a large play. So India stops Russian oil, price will go up, and the impact on the American consumer will be the highest because inflation is going up, interest rates are high. Now, fuel charges have come down for Americans, which is very good. And if fuel charges goes up, the inflation rate will go up. And Powell is not reducing interest rates because he feels the increase in inflation due to the tariffs will be felt in the next 2 or 3 months. He's been holding on. And President Trump has promised everybody that he's going to stop the Ukraine-Russian war. And that's not going forward because President Putin will not bend down to any threat anywhere. Russia has never bent down to any threat by any country throughout its history.
Correct.
He stood up to Napoleon and saved Europe.
Yeah,
he
but
stood up
I
to
think
Hitler and saved the Allies in the Second World War. They lost 20 million people in the Second World War and beat back Hitler and the Nazis. So you must remember they're a very proud country, and I think we must negotiate with Putin. But President Trump is taking a hard line.
Okay.
And I think they have to come and talk. So I think this is part of his tactics. So we have to see.
So among the important things said there,
not make comments.
among the important things that come out of what Mohandas Pai says, I want to go to you, Richie Greenberg, is that what Trump has not factored in is the size and power of India. If we stop buying Russian oil, then, fuel in America is going to become very expensive. It's going to get very difficult for Americans. And America was very happy that we were buying Russian oil because it kept the prices down. So, I think it's bad economics overall. But Richie, would you like to respond here?
Yes. So first, thank you for having me on today. We need to go take a step back and look at Donald Trump and see who he is, how he negotiates. His book going back decades, in negotiating, right? How to deal with business. He's a businessman. He loves to push buttons. He loves to make people upset, if you want to say that. That is his tactic. That's his way of doing business. His diplomacy is all based on forcing people to get together and to negotiate. That's what this is all about. Now, I agree, unfortunately, there are times when his mannerism, his demeanor is a bit brash, but that is who he is. Many of us like his tactics, the way he forces people to come together and to speak and to come out with an agreement. Now, what that is doing here in the specific case with India, I understand the concern. I understand also that you've got two countries, India and the United States, both right now are in America first, India first posture and stance. And that is what is making this pretty difficult, whether it has to do with the initial threats of the tariffs, 25% on imported Indian goods, automobile parts and pharmaceuticals and technology in the future. That is a problem in itself. Now, adding the second issue with the punitive tariffs, and we don't even know what that's exactly going to be, we'll see very shortly, dealing with the oil and Russia. That is a very irritating point, we know, on all sides, to Russia, America, and India. So we're going to see, I'm watching very careful to see what's going to come out of that. But again, this is how Trump works. He's a businessman first,
I agree.
And he's trying to push everybody to the negotiating table.
I agree, but the point being here, I'll keep it brief. In that case, Trump should first say that America will stop trade with Russia. But America is increasing trade with Russia. America is increasing business with Russia. What did India do, Richie? India, in a public statement, exposed America. We named all the products you are silently trading with. You are trading with. Why is Trump angry? Because India said, look here, you are using Russian uranium hexafluoride. It's not American. You are sending your people and you're buying Russian uranium hexafluoride. You're buying billions worth of Russian palladium, Russian fertilizers, and Russian chemicals.
Now, also,
You
I've
are increasing.
noticed
My
that,
point is,
looking at
you are
some of
increasing your
video
trade
clips
with
that you
Russia.
were,
No, 1 minute.
that
You are
you've been
increasing your
broadcasting
trade
over the
with
last,
Russia.
5 minutes.
No, you are increasing your trade with Russia, aren't you?
Before Trump was even president. Again, now Trump has only been in since the end of January, so a lot of that factors in is before. This is when the Democrats were in power. This is when
No, but it's still going
Biden
on.
was
You can
still in
stop
power.
it.
So this is another issue.
The imports, the silent imports from Russia by America are continuing. Ande Tatiana. Tatiana, you want to come in? Isn't that a reality?
Of course. No, Arnab, you're completely right. And I think that we're missing the point here. The point is not politics. The point is money. Trump wants to sell American oil. He's been wanting to sell American liquefied gas to Europe for, and he's been doing everything he can to sell more American. Yes, it is America first. And it's not about, I'm afraid to say it, but I don't believe for a single second that anything he says about the war, about stopping the bloodshed and everything, it has nothing to do with the people dying in Ukraine. It has nothing to do with wanting to do anything for Ukraine. Right now, he is playing hardball, and I do agree with the previous speaker that he is first and foremost a businessman. He's used to tough negotiations. He is negotiating from a position where he forces you, he slams something ridiculous on you so that you will back to a point where he wants to meet you afterwards. That's a very, that negotiation tactic is in all of the business books. You can read any of them,
including his own book that he wrote. Yes, including his own book.
Yes, it is. It is. I've actually read his book. I'm obsessed as a news person. I love Donald Trump. He creates so much for the news, for the media. I believe the media has, although he's kind of ruined the media world because all of the journalistic standards went to the crapper, pardon my French, but he does create so much attention, so much media hype. And it's also, this comes from him being not from the world of politics, but from the world of business. So I believe that in his own world, he's not trying to kind of sink the market. He believes that he can replace in some way Russian oil with American one. He doesn't want for the prices to go sky high. He just wants to sell more oil. And from what I've seen from the reports, the latest reports that I've seen on Reuters and everything, it does work. He is succeeding in bullying.
No, he's not. See, these are all, none of those reports, Tatiana, are authenticated. None of those reports are authenticated. Mohandas Pai wants to come in quickly. Mohandas Pai, briefly, before I go to the others.
Arnab, America consumes 20 million barrels of oil a day, only digs up $13 billion of barrels a day. It exports maybe 3.5 million barrels. So America is not a very large exporter, but the largest manufacturer of oil, but it consumes more, and the balance it imports from Canada and other countries. I'm just giving data.
Yeah, I'm just going to Victor Gao here. Victor Gao.
One second, just a very quick comeback to the question that you actually asked. Why is America not stopping trade with Russia? Because all of the things that you listed, especially the fertilizers, they can't replace those with something made in the US. And the US crops will suffer.
Yeah, that's the point.
He's putting America first. He's just doing it in a very,
you see, you can't have this America first posture without the basics here of the ability to manufacture. You have your strengths, but your strengths are limited. Now, Victor, last time, Pastor Mark Burns got so angry. He loves Donald Trump. Anyone criticizes him, he can't take it. And then he attacks him and then he walks out of the program. But one very interesting point here, Victor. You see, what Eric Garcetti said, he was ambassador to India. Eric Garcetti said, that is Americans wanted India to buy Russian oil. Because he said, India bought Russian oil because we wanted someone to buy Russian oil at a price cap. It was not a violation. It was actually the design of the policy. because as a commodity, we didn't want oil prices going up, and a big country like India buying a lot of Russian oil helped deleverage the rising oil prices. So this was the American policy. There is no other country of this size. The only country that can buy that much oil to influence prices is India. So America last year wanted India to buy Russian oil. This year they don't want India to buy Russian oil. Not that we would listen to them. But Pastor, it makes no sense. You have to have something called consistency.
It's a different president.
Yeah, he may want, but he's not the president of India or the prime minister of India. My prime minister decides.
Arnab, thank you very much for having
Victor Gao from Beijing, from Singapore. Go on.
What is happening now is President Trump is holding a gun at the head of India, demanding India's surrender, expecting India to be weak and vulnerable. But he doesn't really expect that India is strong, and it is only a decision made by the Indian government and the Indian people as to whether, how, where they want to buy their oil from. Nobody can stop India from buying oil from Russia. The sanctions imposed on Russian oil are not sanctions adopted by the United Nations Security Council. It is just a sanction adopted by one country, and the expected extraterritoriality of such sanctions is a violation of India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. So I think Trump expects that India will chicken out, but India is strong, and I have full sympathy for India's position, and no one should expect that India should be weakened or collapsing, for example, in front of such maximum pressure from Washington. And by issuing ultimatum to proud countries like India, it is a calculation on Trump's side. Now, I think what Trump is doing is launching this anti-the-world tariff war against almost all the countries in the world, and he expects most of the countries to succumb to the maximum pressure from the United States. China will not succumb to such pressure, and I believe India will not, and we will figure out our own way as to how to deal with the maximum pressure from India from the Chinese perspective. We want to talk with the United States to calm down the situation. But if the United States continues to pick a fight with China, China is fully prepared to see complete winding down to zero of the two-way trade between China and the United States. Meaning, if the United States does not want China to export goods to the United States, then there will be no more goods to be exported by the United States to China. This is how China is dealing with the maximum pressure from the United States. China defends free trade, and I hope India will do the same thing. Defending free trade is the right thing for most of the countries in the world today to do, and it is only a decision up to be decided by the Indian people themselves as to whether, how much they want to buy oil from Russia. No other country has a legitimate say in stopping India's decision in this regard.
Well, Pastor, before I come to you, just one small observation, and then you and Alexander Shajan can respond. See, this can work with, we can work with some African countries. It can work with some countries in Southeast Asia, not all. It can work with Europe because they have their limitations and slowing down of growth. It can even work with Japan because, it's a slowing down economy. They have pressures, but they fooled you because they put in a promise of investment which they are not going to fulfill. Everyone knows that. Now, the question is, where is America losing, Pastor? America is losing militarily with Russia, geopolitically with Russia, and America is unable to push India and China economically. Three big countries. There is no success with China. You just heard Victor Gao. You don't want to trade with us, don't go trade with us. We're not dying to. It's not working with Putin, who says, I will fulfill my geostrategic objectives, whether you like it or not. You want to quarrel, I'll send Medvedev to quarrel with you every second day. I'm not even going to engage with you. That itself, and it's not working with Narendra Modi, who is saying, thank you very much. We're a large economy. We've got a good domestic base. and we have partners all around the world. Now, Pastor, what happens? What happens?
Well, first of all, since you told everybody I walked off your show yesterday, I walked off because you were rude and you cutting me off, and hopefully we have that solved. As a professional journalist that you are, you would give somebody actual opportunity to complete their sentences. So long as we have that understanding, I'm a happy debater. Now, regarding the U.S., first of all, India is a powerful nation. And I want to be very clear. No one thinks that India is a pushover. By no means. India is a partner of the United States of America and one of our allies. It is very challenging in the situation that we find ourselves regarding Russian oil. Russian oil makes up about 30 to 35% of total Russian GDP. And so when we damage Russia's ability to sell oil, we damage their ability to wage war. This is not a punishment on the great nation of India. This is simply the president doing what he ran on and what he won on, which is holding our partners accountable. One of the gentlemen mentioned about free trade, and that is great to have free trade, but also we have to have fair trade. The reality is this. There's a big talk game that happens, and yes, India is a powerful nation. Yes, India can decide what they want to do. Nobody can make them do whatever they want to do. But the reality is India depends heavily on the massive U.S. economy market that you have access to. It is a massive part of your technology, massive part of your semiconductors that you depend on, the manufacturing that you depend on. It carries a heavy weight of what what India is doing in your own economy with the massive poverty that you're dealing with in your own nation. And so nobody can make India do anything. It is a powerful, great nation. I love India. There's beautiful people there. I've been there twice and hope to come back again. But the reality of it is economically, if you are supporting the dictator of Russian oil to help wage war against the Ukrainians, 20,000 children are missing, have been kidnapped because of this. People are dying at the average of 5,000 to 6,000 a day at the hands of the Russian aggressor. Churches and mosques and synagogues have all been destroyed, places of faith. Hindu have been killed, destroyed, all because of the Russian aggression that is happening in Ukraine. And the president is simply holding our friends accountable for helping us stop this aggression. Yes, India is powerful. Yes, India is strong. But again, India does depend heavily on the U.S. markets. And if the tariffs keep going up, that's going to impact your bottom line. Yes, there are other people that you can do business with, but there is no market like the United States market, and nations who lose access to it historically and will consistently will lose. And so this is not the president trying to wave a big stick. He's simply holding
Pastor,
our
can I ask you a counter question without your walking out? A small
oil.
Counter question without you walking out. If you love Ukraine so much,
I won't walk out if you don't cut me off. It's
no,
sir. So don't insult me on
the
your
question
show.
Is,
I would not be insulted by you cutting me off.
Where am I insulting you?
As long as you allow me to talk.
I am not insulting you. You are Donald Trump's spiritual lead guide. How can I insult you? Though I wonder what kind of spiritualism you teach him, but I'll just ask you a question here. If you love the people of Russia so much that you're so angry with India for buying, people of Ukraine so much that you're angry with India for buying Russian oil, then why don't you let Ukraine enter the NATO? Why are you saying I will not let Ukraine enter NATO? Why is it, if you love the people of Ukraine so much, that just after his spat with Zelensky in the Oval Office, Donald Trump ordered a complete stop on all shipments of US military aid to Ukraine? Did you not think of Ukrainian children then?
Well, absolutely did not, and I've been very open about that.
So then you are using Ukrainian children. Then you are using Ukrainian children as an argument.
Let me finish my statement. You asked me a question, then let me give a complete statement. I'm very on the record. I'm MAGA as MAGA can be, and I'm very much on the record for saying that I did not support Ukraine. I did not support the war. I did not support sending more money or weapons to Ukraine when Americans are suffering.
Yes, and why lecture us using Ukrainian children as an argument point.
It took me going to Ukraine and seeing for myself. Instead of just listening to the news and listening to the reels that you see on social media, it took me going to Ukraine to discover that what I've been told, even from those who are on the right, have been completely wrong. That's what shifted my opinion of Ukraine. Seeing the people for myself.
And to help the people of Ukraine, you are buying uranium hexafluoride from Russia. To help the children of Ukraine, you are buying palladium from Russia, fertilizers and everything. Tatiana is countering you. Tatiana, I'm opening the debate. Tatiana from Moscow is countering him.
For myself, seeing these things happen.
I'm not the debate coordinator. I can insult and interrupt you.
Ukraine, and that shifted me.
And I'm also Russian, so I'm allowed. Did you go to Donbass for kicks? Did you see the people on the other side who were dying for 8 years before Russia stepped in?
Why did Russia attack Ukraine? Why?
Do you know what was happening before the war?
Why did Russia attack Ukraine? Why is Russia killing innocent
Ukraine
women? Why is Russia bombing
people?
People, civilian?
Why is Russian bombing was killing civilians? Citizens? Can you read on the, at least read the background information? Do you know what was happening?
I read the background information, and I know that Ukraine is a sovereign nation, and they desire to be separate, independent, without the corruption from Russia, from the Kremlin. Even the church has been affected. The Russian Orthodox Church is impacted by the Kremlin. The people just want to be free. They just want to be separate and independent. They don't want to be dictated by Vladimir Putin.
Yes,
and to be honest with you, I thought that Vladimir Putin was a Christian that I wanted to be. I wanted Russia to be friends. I spoke so many times on the news
talk for as long as you can. I'm a white woman. I will talk over you for as long as you want me to. I'm a journalist. I can talk for a very long time until you actually stop and listen.
I'm a preacher, and I can talk for a very long time. You give me the microphone in the audience,
yeah.
I'll talk for a very long time.
We can talk to the end of the debate until Arnab shuts it down.
No, it's okay. You guys have fun. I'm enjoying this. My point is, Tatiana, look at it from my point of view. 1 minute.
Why was Ukraine killing people?
Let me.
Why was Ukraine killing people?
No, 1 minute. Tatiana, 1 minute. Tatiana and Pastor Mark Burns.
The heads off of innocent people right now?
Pastor, 1 minute. Pastor, 1 minute. Listen to me.
Okay, all right.
Pastor, 1 minute. Now, Alexander, there is Mohandas Pai sitting in Bengaluru. It's a fantastic city, Silicon Valley of India, very high-tech, wonderful. And he's a great thinker, economist, investor, and entrepreneur. He's a very balanced person, Mohandas Pai. If you've noticed him. And there's Victor Gao, though I fight with him very often. He's sitting in Singapore, the heart of the Asian economic engine. See, what people in China and India are saying today, that Alexander, whatever problem you guys are having, you're having a problem with Russia, deal with Russia. You're having a problem about handling Ukraine, deal. Why are you dragging India and China into your problem? The other day, Alexander, I saw the Chinese envoy at the United Nations tell the American envoy that why are you telling people not to do what you do yourself?
Exactly.
See, you have no answer. You want to use two large economies in the world to fight your wars. And China and India are saying, we are not going to get involved, Alexander. Why should we get involved? It's not our problem, right?
Let me tell you this. I am proud of my Indian heritage, okay? As much as I am a naturalized US citizen who is able to vote in the US, who is allowed to be in the US politics, I am proud of my Indian heritage. I love India. Both my parents are buried in India. I just came back from India a week ago. My father passed away. I buried him there. I came back, and I'm still going back at least every 2 to 3 months. My family lives there. I love India. So I'm very disappointed on the current situation and the outcome of all these tariff trade war. Yeah. And I seriously believe President Trump is also not happy with the outcome. Mr. Arnab was saying that why President Trump is obsessed with India. He is discouraged, or he is disappointed, or he is depressed. No, he is not depressed. I'm sure he is obsessed with India because India is a strong economy. India is United States' best friend. So he definitely loved the nation. He definitely loved the leadership there. But none of us, including, I don't think anybody disagree with me. None of us are happy with the outcome right now. Okay, that's my opening statement. But let me tell you this. President Trump, you said that out of the superior national interest that India